Okay, we are going to go today to a virtual tour of Venice, amongst other things that we're going to be doing today. Today we're going to be learning Parshat Vayakhel Pekudei, and we're going to go to Venice. What's different about Venice, special about Venice, that you don't have in other cities in the world?
Streets are water.
The streets are water. If you want to go to visit your neighbor, you don't cross the street, you cross a canal. It's so cool. Just imagine all the roads out around over here, Yirmiyahu, Eliyahu, all of them, they're not roads, they're just canals. And you have to drive through them. I actually think it makes more noise in a way, right? It should be noisier, because a motorboat makes more noise. Once they were all gondolas. You know what a gondola is? A gondola is a long thin boat, and you have somebody in the back that rows it, and you sit in front. And the whole of Venice used to be gondolas. That was a little less noisy than having speedboats. Today in Venice, you have speedboats, you have boats for building, you have boats with cranes on them, you have taxis, ambulance boats, police boats, garbage boats, and what do we call taxis? Vaporetto. You order a vaporetto to get around. How does this even connect to the Parsha? So, brace yourselves, firstly for a very special shiur, but also for Shabbos being the longest Parsha in the whole Torah, the longest Torah reading of the whole year. It's Vayakhel, Pekudei, HaChodesh. Okay, you're talking about 250 psukim. Okay, my Bar Mitzvah Parsha was Noach. That came out to be 150 psukim maybe, and that was considered long. This is 250. Parshas Naso, I think, is also one of the longest. It also gets around to 200. So here you're talking about something really, really long. A Baal Korah told me, the Baal Korah that reads, in his mind it's the Turim, the Shurot, right? So he says it's how many Shurot? It's like 10, I think 10, or was it 10 pages? Kitzo, we're talking about a lot. We're talking about a lot, and it takes time. So instead of Kriyas Torah taking 20 minutes, half an hour, it'll take closer to an hour.
How does that connect to Venice? I still didn't understand.
How does this connect to Venice? The connection to Venice comes up at the beginning of Vayakhel. Vayakhel, Moshe brings Am Yisrael together, and what mitzvah does he speak to them about? The mitzvah of Shabbos. He says you have to keep Shabbos, and lo tevaru esh b'chol moshvotechem b'yom HaShabbat. It's, we have the Lametet Melachot, the 39 Avos Melachos. There's one Av that's separate, that's different, and that's the Av of Havara. Havara is different. It came out separately, and Chazal ask why it comes out separately and what it teaches us. We all know the Karaites, right? The Karaim that don't believe in Torah Sheba'al Peh, they just believe in Torah Shebechtav. They say that you may not have any fire on Shabbos. So they have their Shabbos night meal in complete darkness. And they eat cold food. Just imagine that. That's also Esh. What did they say about a fluorescent?
They weren't alive. No.
What do they do about it?
Why not?
Okay. There's something interesting about the Karaim. They do want to be similar to the Orthodox. I've seen Karaim, they want to do stuff. How did the Karaim come into existence? In the 7th century, right? We're talking about 1,000, 300, 400 years ago. There was a rabbi called Harav Anan ben David. What's his name in English?
Cloud, son of David.
Cloud, son of David. So Rabbi Cloud, Rabbi Anan, was supposed to be the greatest rabbi. He was supposed to be, this is the time of the Geonim. He was supposed to be the Gaon, the Rosh Hashiva of Surah, the leader of all Jewish people, and they decided to give it to somebody else. So he said, great, enjoy yourselves, enjoy your lives. I'm taking my community and we're breaking off, and we're not following Rabbinic Judaism, we're doing our own thing. And then he started changing. That's like, he can't take it. He's like, he pulled away everybody because of his own ego, because of his own gaiva. He started this whole splinter group. Now, from what I see today, I know there are Karaim around. In the old city, there's one Karai family. There's a story about the Orach Chaim, the Orach Chaim HaChodesh. The Orach Chaim was a Rav in Yerushalayim. He was a Rav in Morocco, but he made it all the way from Morocco to Israel. And he would meet once a month in one of the shuls. Right there, who knows shuls in the old city of Yerushalayim? The Churva, Tiferes Yisrael. And they weren't around back then. But they had the 4 Sephardi shuls. And each time he would meet in a different shul. And so the Karaites said, why don't you meet in our shul? The Karaim said, meet in our shul. He said, oh, you know what, I'll do it. Maybe he can master the tshuva, right? So when he went to speak in their shul, he walks down the stairs in their shul and he said, I feel really sick. Like I need to throw up all of a sudden. Something's wrong with the step. They said, Rabbi, well, what do you mean? The step looks fine. Something's wrong with the step. Rip up the tile, he told the guy next to him. Right? The tile closes the step in. Rip it. So they ripped up the tile and they found a Gemara inside. The Karaites put a Gemara in this that he steps in it and disrespects the Gemara. He says, this is what you do? I'm going to curse you that you'll never have a minion again. And for 200 years they haven't had a minion.
You have today.
There's one family there. They have the oldest shul in the old city. It's crazy. It's from the 8th century. It's from within 100 years after Rav Anan. They built a shul over there. You have to go down a lot of stairs because it's deep underground, because Yerushalayim is a layer cake and the lower layers are the older layers. So this shul doesn't have a minyan. And that's all because of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. Now, the Karaim, by the way, which shul does Bugs Bunny like to go to? Where does Bugs Bunny like to daven? In the Karaite shul. Right? Don't laugh too loud. In any event, that was a little bit of a detour about the Karaim. We wanted to see how this connects to Venice. And the connection to Venice is this week in the shiur. In the morning I hear Rav Maman, right, in the shul over here. And all of a sudden, he speaks about a Beis Yosef, which I didn't even know about. The Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, was around 500 years ago. He says, I'm going to speak about something which is relevant to today, 500 years ago. And he speaks about Venice. In Siman Shin Lametet, in the Beit Yosef. It's Hilchos Shabbos. And he says, and the question there is about using a boat on Shabbos. And he says, what do people in Venice do? You want to go from one place to another. You need a boat, right? How do you go from one place to another? So the truth is, today, you can do it without boats. There are enough bridges. I don't know if there always were bridges, but there are enough.
We still got stuck. They're not enough bridges.
Today, the way it works in Venice is if you want to go from the Doge's palace or something, what you have to do is you have to go over one bridge, then you go all the way to the right. You want to get here, you go over another bridge, then you go all the way here, you go over one bridge, then you have to go all the way back over there. There's no straight line, so it becomes very difficult. But if you wanted to take a vaporetto or a gondola, Right? The gondolas you just row it. Actually, you don't row like this. It's one, right? He stands and rows it. He stands at the back and he rows like this, right? When you do a kayak, so when I do kayaks, I always go to the front, because then you also have control. The power actually comes from the back.
The control comes from the back.
But when the water's moving, it's very important to have control, because otherwise you just keep on hitting the bridges, the sides. But in Venice, the water's just there, it's not moving. So I guess being in the back is the best place. In any event, so can you use a gondola on Shabbos? Can you get on a boat on Shabbos? This is the question that was asked. The Beit Yosef asked this a few hundred years ago. And his answer is yes. Yes, you can go on it on Shabbos. May I see that that's, or maybe I'll ask. Oh, very good. Nassim, see that this is focused. You moved it a little bit. This is a gondola. Yeah, fair. He's standing in the back. So you can all look at this. This bridge over here. Which bridge is this? I used to know the name of the bridge over here. It's the first bridge in Venice. The first bridge where Venice actually started from. I had it written down. Let's see if I can find what this is called. The Rialto Bridge. It's a very important bridge. That's at the bottom. On top we have a gondola, and the guy is, the guy standing behind, and today they have the striped shirt, black and white. Here, you can look at it and pass it on. That's the gondola in Venice. And the Beit Yosef says, according to Chuvas Harivash, that it's allowed. You can go on a gondola on Shabbos because we're talking about two derabbanans, three derabbanans. One derabbanan is not to use a boat on Shabbos. Two, you have a goy that's riding it for you. You're not doing the work. So somebody asked,
What if it's electric?
that's a problem. If it's electric, if it's motored by the diesel engine, if it's
That's a different.
just time to take a bus, is also, you're doing melachas deraisa. The driver's doing melachas deraisa.
Nobody's a good.
But it's a deraisa, so here it's like you have two derabbanans. To go on the water, just in the gondola, is a derabbanan if he was a Jew. He's a goy, so that's considered two derabbanans. So here, with the bus driver, he's a goy, so it's just one derabbanan. It's not two derabbanans. Okay, now, I was wondering why you need to get to this heter at all. If you go to the Jewish quarter, what's the Jewish quarter called in Venice? It's called the Ghetto. Who knows, what ghettos do you know about? Well, Ghetto Varsha. Auschwitz is not a ghetto. Auschwitz is a death camp. It's a death camp and a labor camp. It had two things. Okay. Ghetto is, all the cities you go to in Europe pretty much. In occupied Europe, where the Nazis came to, there were always ghettos. You go in Warsaw, there's a ghetto. In Lodz, there's a ghetto. Warsaw is the biggest one. Lodz is the first ghetto. There are lots of ghettos all over. You have ghettos going all the way through Hungary. Hungary we call them ghettos also. You have ghettos also in, even in France. I'm not exactly sure if you call them ghettos or not. But where does the word come from? The first ghetto in the world, where was it started? In Venice, 500 years ago. When the Beit Yosef writes this, he's writing to Ghetto Vecchio, the old ghetto, the first ghetto. That's when he's writing this. Afterwards, you have the new ghetto.
Italian?
The word ghetto is Italian. You know what it means?
No.
It's a place where you mold iron. It's an iron mold. Because there used to be an iron mold over there where they would mold iron. That's where the word ghetto comes from. So, yeah. The first ghetto in the world is 500 years ago, and it's there. And then you have more ghettos that pop up in Rome and in different parts of Italy. But the Italians started with the ghettos. Now, if you go to Venice today, all the ghettos are close together. Jewish quarters, you have the old ghetto, you have the new ghetto, you have the new ghetto. They're all right next to each other.
Nobody has to come.
You don't have to go on a boat. You don't need a gondola. You don't need a vaporetto. So what I think is people did need to go into town on Shabbos. Like there was a certain need for them to go towards where St. Peter's Church is, where the Doge's palace is, which is the center of the city. I think people did need to go there. There were certain reasons they had to go there. Not to do.
Everybody lived in the ghetto.
It's also they could also. You know what? It could be that it took time for all the Jews to be concentrated in the ghetto. The idea is that all the Jews would live in the ghetto. That's the idea. You're not supposed to live outside of the ghetto. Jews that are found outside the ghetto will be whipped. There's a big sign when you come into the ghetto. It says, "If we find you outside the ghetto."
What, in Venice?
Yes, there's a big sign there. It's high on top. It's a big stone. It's a very old tablet. And it says over there, if we find you outside the ghetto, you could be whipped, punished, thrown into jail. Yeah, not full. Kill. The Nazis would kill you if you were outside the ghetto, not the Italians, not then. The Venetians. They wouldn't kill you back then. What would happen is, during the day, when the sun would come up, the ghettos would open, and then you could go out and do your business, and then you had to be back before the night, and then the ghetto gates would close. That's the way it worked. By the way, all gates work like that. It's in order to keep the Jews in one place because they were anti-Semitic. They believed the Jews would cause problems. The Jews were also very successful wherever we went. Always very successful. The Jews in America are 2% of all of America is Jewish. You know that? America has 330 million people.
Oh, that's a lot.
So 2%, so what is it? Like 6-7 million Jews? That's what we're talking about?
It's like 3.2 million.
Maybe it's a little more than that?
It's more than 3. It's more than 6.6. No, it's not. 6.6.
So, but the wealth in America is like 10 or 20%, 10 or 15% belongs to the Jews. Do you understand that? We have a lot more money than we are in number.
Why did the Jews never rule? We never ruled. We were always very powerful.
We were always subjugated, we never ruled. Why did we never rule in all these years? If we were so successful, why didn't we become kings?
Because it was always about money.
Because what?
It was always about money.
So let me tell you about a Jewish king that ruled a huge nation that came from the ghetto. You want to hear about that? Okay. There was a Jew called Vol. Vol actually means king. It means king in what? Yeah, he was a Rav. Rabbi Katzenelebogen. He was Rabbi Katzenelebogen, and they called him Vol afterwards. And he lived in Venice, and he went to live in Poland later on. And one day, he sees this person that looks all beaten up, and he recognizes him, that he knew him from Venice. And the story goes that he was nice to him, he gave him food, and then afterwards this guy said, "I'll remember you." And this actually was one of the kings, he was one of the princes of Poland. At this time we're talking about Poland and Lithuania were together. It's a very big country. And what happened was his father or grandfather died, and they had to find somebody else to become king. And they used to vote for the king. And now, what do if they can't come to an understanding? They need to vote, right? We just had the Ayatollah was killed, right? So they had to decide who's going to be king. Who's going to be the Ayatollah in Iran instead of Khamenei. So there's a way to vote for it, and only certain people can vote for it. So there was a voting process amongst the noblemen in Poland, Lithuania, and they couldn't come to an understanding, and it was almost 30 days were up. They said, if 30 days are up, that means you can't vote anymore, and that means our whole constitution is broken. It's the end of the constitution. They have a plan, they have a system that works. If 30 days there's no king, then the whole thing collapses. That's what it says in the constitution.
And what happens?
What happened was, this prince that was saved by Rabbi Katzenel Bogen said, I want to present a king. I want him to be king just till tomorrow, because by tomorrow we'll already have an idea of what to do. And he doesn't really have a claim to the throne, he's just a Jew. He's not going to keep it for more than we need. Yeah? And they said, fine, let's make him king. And they made Rabbi Katzenel Bogen king for one day. And all that night, he tore up decrees against the Jews. He made sure to fix their constitution, all their laws, so that it's less anti-Semitic. And then the next day, they already voted in the new king. And I think it was this prince, his friend. So he had even more power afterwards. But it's a good point. How come Jews didn't actually have positions of power? Because the world is anti-Semitic. And we're always being persecuted. Wherever we go, we're persecuted. As you're moving the camera. Let me tell you about, this is a small, we're talking about Venice, right? About the ghettos, about anti-Semitism, and this also fits in to that. There's a guy called Theodor Herzl. You heard of Theodor Herzl? Theodor Benjamin Ze'ev Herzl. Herzl, we're going back to around 1890, okay? About 140 years ago, pretty much. Herzl was a journalist, a very rich journalist, a very successful journalist in Austria. He comes from Budapest, and he went to live in Austria. And he's very successful. They sent him out to the Dreyfus trial. This is 1892. There's a Dreyfus trial happening in France. One of the generals, a guy called Dreyfus, who's a Jew, they said he was a spy. He was a spy, and they were going to judge him for that and see what they're going to do with him. So Herzl came there, and he was shocked to see that everybody was calling out death to the Jews, death to the Jews. And he just thought it was a whole anti-Semitic thing. He thought Dreyfus was going to have a fair trial. He didn't have a fair trial. They were very nasty to him. They decided that he's a spy without evidence. They took and he's a general in the French army. They took his sword and they broke it. And then they sent him out to exile on an uncertain island. And then Herzl said, if you're a Jew, it doesn't make a difference. If you live in France, if you're a general in France, if you're a successful person in any country, the Goyim will come after you. They'll be terrible to you. And then Herzl said there's only one solution for the Jewish problem, and that's to bring everybody to one country and have a Jewish country. That is the only way to deal with this.
Nobody wants to kill us now.
Nobody wants to kill us now, but now we can
Trying to kill us
now we can defend ourselves. Whatever happens until Mashiach comes, we'll be persecuted. Yeah?
הבעיה האמיתית לא נפתרה.
Don't
want to be killed.
No, halacha biyadua Esav tzonei Yaakov. Esav will always hate Yaakov. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter.
And when did it happen? It happened because Hashem, they started doing hitbolelut and started acting like Goyim.
It makes it worse when you have the hitbolelut, when you start, marrying into them. But it makes it worse. But it's always there. So whatever we do, like now.
Hashem's like, oh, you don't know what.
Now, in a way, if Iran is erased, if the IRGC, right, we just want the Ayatollahs out. and then Iran can be taken over by the Shah or by somebody else. And once that happens, it looks like there won't be any more problems. Just imagine that. Hamas won't have anybody giving them money. Hezbollah won't have anybody giving them money. Then who's gonna do anything to us? It looks like a beautiful world, but it's not gonna be.
It's not gonna happen.
Because there's gonna be.
Trump is going to be voted out.
There's gonna be another. No, even if this does happen and we get the Ayatollahs out of Iran, it's not gonna be enough. Somebody else is gonna come up and hate us and cause trouble, and it could be like Turkey.
Chinese even.
It could be. There's every generation they're gonna try and kill us and be terrible to us, and I really hope that I'm wrong and that it's just gonna be like at a low level they're gonna hate against us, some nation, but it's not gonna be very substantial. But history shows us that every generation you have people that hate us, you have people that cause problems, and Herzl said there's no way that we can do anything aside for getting our own country, and it doesn't have to be here. Herzl didn't need it to be here. They told Herzl, we'll give you a place in Uganda. Shmuel, you know Uganda? Uganda is in Central Africa. And if we would have had a state over there, so you would have had to deal with the local blacks. I don't know, would have been...
They wouldn't hate us as much as the Arabs.
They wouldn't hate us as much as the Arabs do, huh? Who hated us more, the Arabs or the Nazis? Wherever we are, they hate us. Or the Crusaders. Or the Romans or the Greeks. Or the Babylonians. Or the Egyptians. Wherever you go, they're going to hate us.
This is halacha be'edoa Islam.
No, you can't. It's a beautiful thing, and it's unprecedented, that here we are together with the superpower of the world, fighting together, shoulder to shoulder, against Iran. Have we ever fought with the Romans? We fought with the Greeks? Never. You never had this. You never had people helping us like this, right? And it really, it's for us that he's doing this. Well, it looks to everybody like it looks like it's for us. A lot of people are saying it's for us. You didn't have this.
The oil.
Yeah, we did have like different the kings of Yehuda, the kings of Israel. We had different kind of britot. We had different covenants with different nations, but not like this. This is unprecedented, and it has to do with Mashiach coming pretty soon. Some call this time Atchalta de Geula. The beginning of the Geula has already started. We're already in our land. This is the best. This is the best the Jews have ever had it. We have the most Torah learners we've ever had. We've never had. How many Torah? We have like over 100,000 people, I think, in Kotel. Is it 100,000? I think it's 60,000. There's a 60,000 number, but I think that has to do with the Bachram in yeshivas. So it means you have a lot more people, including the Avreichim as well. And you have people in America and in Europe. And so we have Kolim all over the world. So it's the best, the most Torah there's ever been in the Jewish nation, the most wealth the Jews have ever had, and the most physical power for sure. When have we had an army that could take on massive armies? And you had kings, Achav, Omri, they were big kings, and they could fight, but not like this. Not like this to be considered such a...
הכל ניסים, גם היום. It's not us, it's Hashem.
It's Hashem. It is.
זה ניסים לא נורמליים. We don't even understand how much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, we spoke now about anti-Semitism. Earlier on we spoke about Venice, about Shmiras Shabbos in Venice. So even the Beis Yosef says you're allowed to go on gondolas. We don't. Today they're not makel. The rabbis aren't makel to go on boats. There's no need to do it in any event today because you do have all these. You have all these bridges, so you can even get to the mainland from Venice. There are the bridges all the way around. Now, So the Vayakhel starts off with this, with Shmiras Shabbos Kil Chasa, with Shmiras Shabbos. Pekudei keeps on going on about the Mishkan. You really have a lot of repetition of the Mishkan. Again and again we speak about the Mishkan. And then in the Haftarah of Pekudei, there's a very interesting, we're not going to read the Haftarah of Pekudei, we're going to read the Haftarah of HaChodesh. But in Pekudei it says, there's an interesting pasuk. Ein ba'aron, rak shnei luchos avanim asher hunach sham Moshe b'chorev. So so ein rak is, ein is minus, rak is minus times minus is plus. So there is something in the aron aside for the luchos. What else is in the luchos?
Something with money.
So the Gemara discusses this, and the Gemara says there's a Sefer Torah that Moshe wrote that's inside there. And now there's a few other things that are with the Aron all the time. Are they actually? There's a few things that are with the Aron that are in Kodesh HaKodashim. Tzintzeret Haman. It's not actually in the Aron. It's next to it. It's in the Kodesh HaKodashim. It's not in it. You don't have a lot